Okay, so welcome to today's training for Engie on the land and title user role. And uh, to begin with, I'll give a brief intro to Green IT, then we'll dive into land and title, the land workflow, and all of the good stuff that's involved in that. So to begin with, Green IT is an independent service provider focused exclusively on the renewable energy generation industry. We help owners, operators, and developers understand their pipelines and portfolios. Principally, we have two business units. Our SCADA operations team designs, builds, and protects the IT infrastructure that runs power plants. And our software business provides a cloud-based platform of tools and services that follow the entire asset lifecycle of a renewable energy asset. We consider it to be like an operating system, but not in the traditional sense of your Mac OS or Windows, rather an operating system for renewable energy business. Today, we're going to review the Green IT Engie land control workflow, and we'll be focusing on the land and title functionality. In 1 hour, we'll do a crash course of several core features, and we're happy to schedule follow-up sessions to reinforce as necessary. I'll be introing other features and going into some of the technical details. So just let us know if you're interested in a follow-up session. And furthermore, I'll also be showing you where there are some other video tutorials built into the app, the knowledge base, and how to access Green IT support. Some of the basics: Green IT is a web app and can be accessed using a standard browser such as Firefox and Chrome. Those are the two primary browsers that are supported. Green IT runs on Amazon Web Services, and the Green IT domain is outside of the Engie domain, but it's supported by Engie North America IT. All right, so land and title. Land and title is a pivotal role both at the intake and post-execution points of the land workflow. And land and title is responsible is also responsible for the offline process of preparing for execution using DocuSign. All right, so what is the land agreement workflow? It's a workflow to track and capture data related to the land agreements. And there's a swim lane available that shows how this workflow works. At any time, if you need to get into the agreement workflow, you can, within Green IT, you can access the support navigation menu and go to templates. And the latest version of the standard workflow is available here, and you can select download, which will download this PDF document that has all of the swim lanes for the agreement workflow. Okay, so this gets started in preparing an agreement, or really preparing a request for agreement that will go through It's requested by the land agents, goes through paralegal, it might go through GIS for review, and to prepare the agreement to get it ready to go out to the landowner. So a lot of that preparation is happening on the first page here, and nothing is happening with land and title yet. So I'm just going to speed through all of this in the interest of time. And so once an agreement reaches status available, then the land and title has the ability to update it to out to landowner, as do several other user roles, I believe. And let's see. So the documents get prepared, they go out to the landowner, and then we're waiting for the landowner to review, sign, and send the documents back. And that will begin the intake process. At intake, there's a form to capture some of the important data points from intake, and land and title can update to if there's an issue, the status can be, or the request can be returned to the land agent. That would be status incomplete, return to land agent. Otherwise, if the intake looks good, land and title will update from out to landowner to in from landowner partially complete. So I'll show you how that will look in the app in a moment. I'll just get through the remaining steps here for land and title in the swim lane. So after the documents come in, land and title will make this a little bigger. Configure the agreement in DocuSign, and Chase, feel free to chime in if I'm missing any key steps here, or if there's something important to add. So currently the DocuSign process is occurs outside of Green IT, and once that's complete, land and title can update the status again to in from landowner approved by land and title, and from there the request will go to legal reviews. They're going to give their approval. Land and title also has the ability to make that update as well to the next status, which would be in from landowner approved by legal. And from there, it's going to go to the land director or land admin for execution. And at any point after intake, it's also possible to send the request back to land agent if something is missing or is incomplete. Every time the request, as it's moving through the workflow and being updated from one status to the next, if there's a new status owner, they will receive an email alert about the status update. So all of the land and title users, which now includes you and Chase, will receive notifications whenever there's an action required on your part. So keep an eye out for those status update email alerts. Okay, and land director or land admin will complete the execution process and update to status executed. At that point, the agreement has been signed and is a legal contract. Payments are generated, and the document is executed. From there, it will go out for recording and finally executed and recorded. All right. So I'm moving quickly. Please feel free to interrupt me if you have any questions as we're going along. Have a look at the agreement workflow swim lane when you have a chance. This is at a bit of a conceptual level, what is happening and how an agreement moves through the workflow. But now let's take a look at how this looks within the Green IT application. So when you log in, you'll be dropped off at what we call the global map. And by default, this shows all of the resources. Each project is represented by a pin on the map. You can find projects on the map here and click into them, or you can use the portfolio menu and projects. You can see all projects, solar or wind, divided by technology. So you can find a project. You can also just start typing the first few letters and it'll search the menu for you. So let's see, I'll just go in the horse thief. From within a project, there are different modules available. We're going to be focusing on the land module, and this will provide access to many of the useful tools that are contained within these tabs in the project. All of the projects are going to look like this, with the land module and then all of the land features down here for the specific project. So I can see the land entities, and this will show me the names of all the entities, the PIDs or APNs that are included in those entities, total acreage, and then if there are any agreements in a specific entity, you can see what type of agreement and what status it's at. And so let's say there's also an agreement tracker here that's specific to this project. And we also have some global trackers available as well to see everything across the entire portfolio. So let's take a look at, well, I'll show you the global tracker. So for portfolio-wide tools, you would go to the features navigation menu, land, and you can check out either the agreement tracker or the change tracker. In the somewhat near future, those will be combined. We'll have everything for the global tracker located in one place. For now, amendments are tracked separately from agreements. From the global tracker, there's a couple different options to find requests for agreement on here. You can filter by clicking on the show filter button, and you can look for a specific status. You can search for certain projects, or you can also choose to look at search by owner role. By default, executed and recorded agreements are not selected. So let's say we want to see everything that is on land and titles plate. Click submit. And now we'll look for all of the agreement requests that are assigned to land and title. So that means there's action pending, potentially action pending for land and title to update these statuses. By default, the most recent updated agreement appears at the top, and then you can scroll down and to see everything. You can also export this tracker at any time. And so if you run a filter and then you want to export this, that will download to an Excel doc. All right, so now we see everything assigned to land and title. Let's see if do we have, you can also search here. So if we want to see something is out to LO, you can filter and then search. Search will only search within the results that are provided by the filter. Provides a way to further refine the filter results. So now we're looking at everything that's out to landowner. You can see just last week, this agreement for Saline Ridge, the Jana Dake entity, PID 50, it's an ELIA, was sent out. And to update, to process an intake or to update a status, you'd click on the update button here, and you can select in from landowner partially complete. You would also have the option to request a modification. Requesting modification will require that you input a rationale to let the paralegal know why you're sending this back. To process the intake, you would update to in from landowner partially complete, and you're presented with the agreement intake form. At a minimum, you're going to need to provide the date that this was received and provide some information about the property disclosure detail. You also have the option to file pick property disclosure files or any partially executed agreements here. Clicking on add will open up the file picker. This is connected to NG's external file system, which is ShareFile. And this will automatically load, since we're in Saline Ridge, this is automatically going to load the documents that are available within the site control folder in ShareFile for Saline Ridge. And these are synced automatically on an hourly basis. If something has been recently added to ShareFile, there's also a file sync button here to manually trigger the file sync. And so you could look for, we're in Jana Dake. If we were going to add something here, going to site control, we could look at site control docs for ELIAs. I'll just do Control F, and is it date? And I'm not getting anything here, but this just went out to the landowner, so there might not be anything available. But this is a list of, you can also search by PID on here to find the files to attach. I'll just demonstrate. You can select multiple files here and select save. This will create links to these documents in ShareFile. And if these are renamed or moved in ShareFile, this link will automatically be updated. This is just pointing at that file. I'm not actually going to submit this because we're not doing a real intake right now, but for demonstration purposes, this would be how you would fill out the intake form, and you would click submit to update to the next status.
Like, can I step in here?
Yes.
So while we were in the intake terminal there, when you went to upload the partially executed agreement,
Yeah.
you went to site control LLEA, and just to just to point out that is where we'll be putting like fully executed completed documents. In this situation, when Jen, when you go and are adding partially executed documents, you'll go to creation instead of the site control, which we've gone over on our end. But yeah,
Thank you for pointing that out.
that you'll refer to.
There we go. Thank you. So now we can see PID 50, Jana Dake, and can actually find the documents that we're looking for and select those. Perfect. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, so let me okay, so there's a few different ways that we're presenting this information. So there's the global trackers, which are just going to show all of the requests. Again, by default, the executed and recorded status documents are not included or not displayed, but you can pull those up by opening the filter. And from here, I can go into this project, just open a new tab. Now I'm in Saline Ridge, I'm in the land module, and I'm on the agreement tracker for this project. I can look at the land entities. There's the APN master list. There's the contact list. These are all the contacts for this project.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
Or maybe quick, sure. What is the difference between entities and then the contact list?
Yes. So the contacts, these are all of the individual contacts that are in the system and are associated to this project. They may or may not be in entities, or they may or may not have agreements for them, but these are all of the contacts for this project. An entity is we think of an entity as like a folder that is going to be containing all of the pertinent information relating to land. So it's going to be the PID, it's going to be the contacts, and then it's going to be the agreements. So the entity is the folder that is combining all of those different elements, putting them together. And now to show you more specifically, I'll just continue working, look at Dake here. So I'm on the land entities tab. I just do a search for Dake, and now I can see Jana Dake. Again, it's PID 50. There's an LLEA, and it's at status out to LO. I'm going to open up this entity, and we can go into this entity and dive a little deeper and see the specific information. I can see there are two contacts that are that have been configured as landowners in this entity, Jana and Clinton. I can go to the entity agreement tab, and I have a couple different views of the request that is flowing here. This is another agreement tracker, but it's specific for this entity within this project. So I'm only seeing this one request here, and it's at out to LO. You could update, we could do the intake from here, and you'll get the same agreement intake lightbox. So it's all the same information presented in a few different packages. It'll depend on exactly how you're most comfortable with working within the system. Either on the global tracker or on the project tracker or within the entity. With the entity view is going to give you the most detailed view about what is happening. Here, you can also click on any of these trackers. You can click on the eyeball to view requests, and you can see this was requested by Dax on 7/02. He's got some notes in here. He's added a source doc. This again is pointing to the ShareFile doc. And we can also see the landowner information is presented here as well. This is the configuration of how these landowners are dividing up the payments or ownership percentages for the land that pertains to this entity. So in this instance, there's just one PID in this entity. It's possible to have entities that have more than one PID, and each one of those PIDs could have an agreement request independently moving through the workflow and being tracked at various statuses for each one of those parcels. But as long as it's in this entity, it's going to be defined by the landowners will be defined on this tab here, landowners, and this is showing the two landowners, but we can see in the percentages here that Jana has 100% ownership and 100% of the rights. So when this agreement reaches execution, Jana will be the recipient of any of the payments. You can edit the entity configuration, the landowner configuration in an entity by selecting Edit View. And you can see this is the list of the landowners that have been added or are currently in this entity. You can add contacts. These are all the contacts for this project. So we're working within Saline Ridge, that's pre-selected, and these are all of the contacts for Saline Ridge. You could search here, maybe there's another DAKE out there that needs to be added to the entity. You can search there. You could select someone here and add them. That wouldn't actually make sense because Janet's already down here, but that's how you would add somebody to this list. And make any changes to percentages. It's also possible to set up once a contact has their title of rep defined, and maybe they're a trust or trustee, a life estate. Typically, if they're just an individual, they will be individual, and they've been selected as spouses. So Clinton and Jana are married. Clinton is providing spousal consent, and Jana is the primary contact. If after making any changes here, you need to select Submit to make those updates. I'm not going to change anything here. I'll just refresh. And now I'm out of the edit view. I can also add a contact here. Maybe I searched for them and they're not in there. This is the add contact page. You can put in the contact's name, phone number, and an address being the most important pieces of information to provide when adding a contact. You want to make sure it's complete address with zip and +4. And I'll just go back to the entity. All right, and down here there is an updates log. This is showing everything within this entity. So anything related to these landowners or the agreement or this PID that's in this entity, any changes there are going to be recorded in this updates log. So we can go back and see acreage changes to the PID, changing the configuration of landowners in the entity, making a request for agreement, updating the status of the agreement. All of that will be recorded in the updates log. You can also add a note and the note will be added to the updates log. If this is something really important about this entity, I can also pin this to the top here. So this is going to load by default, sorting by timestamp. But if anything has a pin at the top, it's going to stay up here at the top. So that's a helpful way to record any important notes that you would want to share with your colleagues or any of the other teams. Someone else can come back in here months later and they'll see your note. If it's pinned, it'll be right up here at the top and easy to find. You can also drag and drop files that you want to attach here as well. And I'll just get rid of that. Okay. All right, we went through intake. There's, all right, so I'll just highlight that intake is only going to be available for agreement requests that are at status out to LO. And we've looked at the trackers, showed you how to, let's see, go back to our global tracker, showed you how to filter. The agreement alert emails that you'll receive will contain a URL, like let's say when this reaches out to LO, that means that it will be land and title is one of the owners. You'll get a status update alert that this agreement reached that status. And there will be a URL in that email that will point you directly to this entity. Okay. After intake, there's a few steps to get to the execution status. We talked about that a little bit in the workflow. There's the DocuSign portion that happens offline. I defer to Chase regarding any additional details for DocuSign. And I'll just refresh this. So post-execution, we can talk a bit about a couple of the steps that happen then. Let's say we want to just see something that's executed. So select that here, submit, and we'll take a look at everything that's executed. So any agreements that have been signed, but they haven't been recorded yet. Those are all waivers. Take a look at, here's an ELIA for Wild Stallion. We'll go into that entity. And this will go out to from here, this would go to out executed / out for recording. When it's out for recording, actually it'd be even better to, let's just look at executed out for recording. What do we have? Okay, here's another wild stallion. This is out for recording. I'll come back and take a look at that. Oh, why? Two. Let's take a look at this black spruce. Okay, so here's the TLE. It's out for recording. There's no recording details have been provided yet. So if you were to select executed and recording, you'll get a little message popping up saying that recording data is required to update to executed and recorded. And this is where you would enter recording details. So you can select when it was sent, the date that it was recorded, provide the county, doc, and details about the recording information. You can also add the recording files. Here's another file picker for this request to pick files that are available in ShareFile. Once let me delete all this. Once recording documentation has been provided, then you'll be able to update to executed and recorded. Okay, the recording documentation can be provided at any point once an agreement reaches executed. Okay, so I mentioned the status update email alerts. You'll be getting those. They provide information about which request in which entity and project has moved from a certain status to another status that you are the owner of, and there will be potentially action required on your part. You get the email alert. It'll provide a URL directly to the entity, and you can check out the landowner configuration, make sure everything's looking good here. We can see the PID information and the PID status. You can see if there are any other agreements flowing in the entity or on the APN that will appear here. Amendments and agreements will show up here, but if you want to update the status of anything, you need to do that on the trackers. So the agreement trackers show all of the agreements. We haven't looked at the global change tracker yet. That's where all of the amendments live. We'll take a quick peek over there. Okay, so we could look for amendments that are out to landowners. And again, if there's a specific entity that you're looking for, you can do a search and then you'll be returned with just that result. This is for Santa Fe, and you can get into the entity here. You can, for amendments, there's a magnifying glass. You can see this is the amendment request. This is an owner change, details, but it's also terms and conditions. And you can also view the original request. This appears to have been an import for which was handled by Green IT, possibly as transitional support. I'll get into that in a minute. Let's just take a look in this entity. So you can see there's an original UID that's executed and recorded, and then there's an amend and restate UID that is currently at status out to LO. I can see the original down here. I can see the original and the amendment up here. I can't change the status of the amendment from here. You need to do that from the global change tracker. All right. I'll just point out that we're working towards having the DocuSign process become part of the internal process in the near future. That's targeted for Q3 of this year. And, please make use of the notes in the updates log. You can also add notes directly to a specific request, and there's an updates log for the request. And in order to provide smooth communication between land and title and all of the other NG roles. Okay, and I'll just take a small step back. Let's go into this Santa Fe project. So whenever you're in an entity, you can get back to the project just by clicking on the name of the project above the entity name, and this will drop you off on the land entities tab. Again, these are all the entities with all the PIDs and a list of any agreements that are in those entities. You can export this table. You can also filter here or do a search. This is a great way if you're working within a project and you want to find just one specific landowner. You can search for their last name and you'll pull up all the entities with their information. Again, there's the APN master list. This is a list of all the PIDs that are within Santa Fe, and there's a filter here as well. Let's say you want to see everything that's signed in Santa Fe. That's going to be here. And again, you can export this and that will download into Excel. And just one more time, there's the contact list. These are all of the contacts that are associated to this project. If they're in an entity, we'll see that here, and you can link directly to the entity. There's any agreements and their status, any PIDs and their status, and then we're looking at, these are contact addresses and phone numbers and emails. You can jump directly into one of these contacts here, and if you needed to make a change, you could do so here. Select submit when you're done. If there's a contact in an entity with a signed agreement, if you make changes to that contact, any payments based on that signed agreement are not going to be reflected. Those changes aren't going to be reflected in those changes, the changes you make to the contact won't be reflected in the payments, because the payments have already been produced when that agreement got signed and updated to status executed. So that produced those payments. You could go back in and make changes to the landowner, but those payments are still going to be based on how the configuration was when that agreement was executed. So that would really be would require an amendment request to be making owner changes. There's also and again, you can export this. There's also export labels, which will produce mailing labels for printing. The line list is going to be providing very similar information, but this is just going to be broken down by PID. So these are all of the PIDs that have contacts that are related to an agreement. Okay, so all of this information that exists as of today in Green IT, there was a major backfill that took place to load all of this data, and in present day, Engie is working in here, and if they need a new agreement, they make the request, they set up the land entity, they can configure the landowners within the entity, set up the PID, and make a request for agreement. We also have some templates available for importing bulk data. There's a landowner contact entity land template that will seed all of that data via an import parser. So those templates are going to be available from support templates. And there's the contact entity land template it's an Excel file. There's a contact sheet and a land sheet, and it's just to capture all the data points in an Excel doc, and then that can be provided to Green IT support, to QA, and import. So you can add contacts one by one. If there's a lot that need to go into the system at once, I would recommend using the import parser, the import template. From the features navigation menu, these are going to be portfolio-wide tools. So there are specific projects available here. You can get to any individual project, but if you want to look at information or tools that are accessing the portfolio, that would be done from the features nav. I just opened up features contact list, and this is a list of all the contacts in the entire system for every project. You can also filter here by a specific project, and you're going to be looking at the same information that we were looking at within a project is going to be available here. Okay. And one piece that I may have overlooked, minor, I'll just go into a project, and go to land entities, and the manage entities. So this is where if, there's looking for a land entity and they're not in here, you can add a land entity by selecting manage entities, and this will show all of the existing entities. And if you need to add a new entity, you would do so here and select add. Then the new entity will pop up down here. You can also manage entities. If you need to make a change, you can just click into one of these fields, make the change, and then click out, and the update will be saved automatically. In terms of navigating through Green IT, this is what we call a light box that popped up here. You can get out of a light box at any time just by selecting on a gray area. For a lot of light boxes, if you're filling out a form, let's just say that right here, for example, if requesting an agreement, this is the form. Something gets filled out here, and then I change my mind. I don't want to submit this. I just want to get out of here. I click on a gray area outside of the light box, and it's gone. All right. So, any questions? You all have been chiming in a little bit as we've been going along. But in the remaining moments, if you have any questions, please let me know.
I don't think I have any right now.
Yeah, I understand it's a lot of information coming all at once, and I'm sure once you get in there and start doing something, if you forget how to do anything, please just reach out to Green IT support. We're available via email, support@greenitea.com. There's also at any time you can create a support request from within the app. On the support navigation, select new request, and you can type in a message here and select save. This will generate a support request, and we can help you out via the ticket request. And just in the closing moments here, video tutorials are also available under support. We're recording today's session, so that will go up here as well. And we also have a knowledge base that provides control information about how to configure. Well, we have a few articles in the knowledge base, and we're working on expanding this as well. So several points for reference, or how to receive support if and when you need it.
Hey Clay, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So you brought up the DocuSign workflow being going to be operated from Green IT sometime here in Q3. Has there been discussions? I mean, do you know how that's going to look, or like is this still being ironed out?
I do not. As of right now, I just received that information, so I don't have any of the details about what the schedule is or how that's going to look.
Yeah, okay, no worries.
Yeah. All right. So if there aren't any other questions, that wraps up today's session. Again, please reach out with any questions. If you're unsure of how to do something, or you forgot how to do it, please just let us know. It'd be better to, better to check to make sure you're doing it the right way. We'll be happy to help.
Great, thank you so much.
Okay, thanks everyone for your time and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Clay. Have a good night.
Thanks.